You're driving behind a semi-truck going down a mountain. You see brake lights, but wait. The truck is slowing down without touching the brakes. No red lights, no smoke, just a loud rattling sound like a machine gun. What you just heard is a braking system your car will never have. It's called engine braking, and it's the reason truck brakes don't catch fire every time they go downhill. I'm about to show you exactly how this works. Here's what most people don't know. Truck brakes would literally melt if drivers used them like car brakes. Going down a long hill, those brakes would be glowing red hot and useless in minutes. So truckers use something completely different. Before I explain how it works, you need to understand three things. First, why regular brakes fail on heavy trucks. Second, what engine braking actually is, and it's not just downshifting. Third, how the system works inside the engine to create massive stopping power without touching the brake pedal. Most people think engine braking is just letting off the gas or downshifting. Wrong. There's actual mechanical hardware inside the engine that turns it into a giant air compressor that fights against the wheels. By the end of this video, you'll understand why truck drivers call it a Jake brake, why some cities ban it, and why it sounds like that. Let's start with the problem. Why truck brakes can't do it alone. A loaded semi-truck weighs 80,000 pounds. Your car weighs maybe 4,000 pounds. When you go downhill, gravity pulls you faster. In a car, you tap the brakes a few times, and you're fine. The brakes handle it no problem. But a truck? 80,000 pounds of weight going downhill builds up massive speed. If the driver only used regular brakes, they would overheat in minutes. Here's what happens. Brake pads create friction to slow down. Friction creates heat. Too much heat and the brakes fade. They stop working. The pads glaze over. The rotors warp. In extreme cases, brake fluid boils and you have no brakes at all. Truckers going down long mountain grades would destroy their brakes halfway down. They need another way to slow down without using friction. That's where engine braking comes in. What engine braking actually is. Engine braking turns your engine into a giant air pump that slows you down. Here's the simple version. Normally, your engine sucks in air, compresses it, burns fuel, and pushes the exhaust out. That process creates power that moves you forward. With engine braking, you flip that backwards. The engine still sucks in air and compresses it, but instead of burning fuel and creating power, it just compresses air and dumps it out. This takes energy, a lot of energy. That energy comes from the wheels, which slows the truck down. But here's where it gets technical. How the Jake brake actually works. The most common system is called the Jacobs engine brake. That's where Jake brake comes from. Here's what it does. In a normal engine, the exhaust valves open after the piston pushes the burnt gases out. But a Jake brake opens the exhaust valve right when the piston reaches the top of the compression stroke. Why does that matter? Because the engine just spent a ton of energy compressing all that air. Right when the pressure is highest, bam! The Jake brake releases it before the engine can use it. All that compression energy just got wasted. Where did that energy come from? The wheels. So the truck slows down. It does this thousands of times per minute. Compress air, release it. Compress air, release it. Over and over. Each compression cycle steals energy from the wheels. The result? Massive braking force without touching the brake pedal. No friction, no heat, no worn brake pads. And that's why it's so loud. You're hearing compressed air being violently released thousands of times per minute. That loud, rattling machine gun sound? That's compressed air being blasted out the exhaust over and over. Remember, the Jake brake releases all that compressed air right at the peak pressure. It's like opening a pressure cooker valve repeatedly at full steam. This is why some cities have no Jake brake signs. It's not because it's dangerous. It's because residents complain about the noise. Trucks going through neighborhoods at night sound like jackhammers. But here's the truth. Banning Jake brakes actually makes roads more dangerous. Without engine braking, trucks wear out regular brakes faster and have less control going downhill. Other types of engine braking. The Jake brake is the most famous, but it's not the only system. Exhaust brakes. These close a valve in the exhaust pipe, creating back pressure that the engine has to push against. It's like putting your hand over the end of a vacuum hose. The motor has to work harder, which slows the vehicle down. Not as powerful as a Jake brake, but quieter and simpler. Compression release brakes. Similar to Jake brakes, but work slightly differently. Still release compressed air, just with different valve timing. These are common on European trucks. Transmission retarders. Some trucks have special transmission systems that create resistance inside the gearbox itself. These work alongside engine braking for even more stopping power. The most powerful modern systems combine all of these. Engine brake plus exhaust brake plus transmission retarder equals maximum slowing power without touching the foot brake. Why does this matter? Because going down a mountain grade that's 6% downhill for 10 miles, a loaded truck could easily hit 100+ miles per hour without braking. Engine braking lets drivers maintain 35 to 45 miles per hour safely without ever heating up the regular brakes. It's not just convenient, it saves lives. A Jake brake can provide 60 to 80% of the braking force of full-service brakes, without any heat, without any wear, just compressed air doing the work. This is why mountain highways have those steep grade ahead. Trucks use lower gear signs. Drivers downshift, turn on the Jake brake, and let the engine do most of the work. The foot brake is only for fine adjustments and final stopping. And here's the thing, electric trucks don't need Jake brakes at all. They use regenerative braking, turning the electric motor into a generator that charges the battery while slowing down. It's silent, efficient, and can provide even more braking force than a Jake brake. But for diesel trucks, engine braking is still the king of downhill control. So next time you hear that loud rattling sound from a truck, you'll know exactly what's happening. The driver isn't being loud for fun. They're using a brilliant piece of engineering to stay safe. Which system do you think is coolest? Jake brake, exhaust brake, or electric regen? Comment below.